time! Today we are talking about some tacos, makeup tacos.
So we have the Viva Taco palette, the original. We are very familiar with her.
And the new Glamlite Street Taco palette. And we're just gonna play around with these, swatch them, compare them, do a couple looks, give you some thoughts. Here's the Street Taco and the Viva Taco palettes side by side. They do have some of the same shades in there.
The repeat shades are Carne Asada, Pico de Gallo, and Pollo. And there's also at least one shade, if not two, that have the same names as shades in this palette but are not the same, because there is a guacamole in this palette.
And a guacamole in this one.
But this one's a matte and that one's a shimmer.
Al Pastor in this one is a matte, and Al Pastor in that one is a shimmer.
Yes, there she is. I've already got some on my finger.
Yeah, so Glamlite has one of my favorite formulas, I think one of your favorite formulas too.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm very excited to try the Street Taco palette out, see how it compares with the Viva Taco palette. Here are the swatches of the Viva Taco palette, side by side next to the swatches of the Street Taco palette.
As you can see, there are those three shades we talked about. Carne Asada, Pollo, and Pico de Gallo that do repeat between the two palettes, as well as the two shades that have the same names in both palettes but are different shades, Al Pastor and Guacamole.
So before we do any sort of eye looks on this channel, we like to go in with our eye primer. I'll use the Too Faced Shadow Insurance.
And I will be using the Bare Minerals eyeshadow plus primer eyeshadow. Liquid eyeshadow.
And I already went in with my primer, so did she, and so we're gonna get started on these looks. So the first thing I'm going to be doing with my look is I am dipping into the shade Pollo, which, as was said before, is featured in both palettes, and I'm just going in the center of my crease with Pollo.
Okay, so I'm going to be taking my Glamlite brush and going into the shade Salsa Roja. Putting that in my crease.
And then the next shade I'm taking is Carne Asada, and that's going to go right on the end of my crease. Just blend that in with Pollo.
Glamlite has some of the best reds out there.
The one thing I love about Glamlite's formula, especially their mattes, is how true to pan they are. Because I remember the paint palette, I looked at the shades, I was like, oh wow, these are like intense primary colors, and they showed up on my eye just as intense and just as primary, and I think that's when I fell in love with Glamlite as a brand.
Well, that was the first palette we got from them, right?
We got that one and the Viva Taco at the same time.
Oh, true. The paint palette was like the new palette of the moment when we got them.
Yeah, I was so excited when I got the paint palette. Oh my god. I saw the teaser video for the paint palette when it was first announced.
I'm just buffing the shade that I laid down with a clean brush.
And I'm just gonna go back in with Pollo over the spots where the two shades meet, just so the blend right there is really smooth.
I'm gonna be dipping in the shade Carne Asada and going into my crease.
So in our first video we said that not much theater was happening right now. That turned out to be a lie.
I know,
the
irony. We
are actually going forward doing our own virtual theater production.
I know, we're kind of starting our own theater company, maybe, I don't know.
Next, we are going to take the shade Picante.
This actually looks really nice. I don't do things like...
Ooh, I like that.
I'm also just going to take a little bit of Pollo and blend that out in my crease as well. take that more into the inner corner while I used carne asada more on the outer corner.
We both used carne asada on the outer corner. Look at that. I really like carne asada because it has like purple tones to it, which I think is really, really nice.
I'm gonna be ballsy here. I'm gonna take Al Pastor and use that as a brow bone highlight.
I am also going into Al Pastor. I am going to fluff that on the center of my lid.
I'm gonna change what I'm doing a little bit, just because this color isn't giving me as much shine as I thought it would. I'm going to take Al Pastor again and blend that into Salsa Roja.
My one complaint is that there isn't a shade like onions in the Street Taco palette, because I am in love with white and cream tone shifts that are like really pretty shimmers. I live for those shades, and Glamlite does them really well.
And I think I'm gonna use that as my brow bone highlight.
I am going in.
I think it'll go well with Al Pastor, so.
With Limon, which is this really pretty.
I went a little
lime green
on the first eye, so I gotta back it up, put some blend on it. I cut my crease a few different ways, but I'll show this way. I actually use my eyeshadow primer to cut the crease, since this one is a liquid eyeshadow and primer. So I will take this angled Morphe brush. This is the M165.
This is like a multi-use wonder brush. I've used that brush as an eyeliner brush before, and I've also used it in place with a spoolie as a brow brush.
And I will cut my damn crease with it. I need to dry my crease right now.
So next, I am going to go in to the shade Repollo Rojo.
I'm just going to be suffering over here cutting my crease for the next few minutes on the channel.
It's shimmer time.
Ooh.
I'm gonna, so the thing that I really like to do is, as you can see, I've laid down a bunch of mattes on my lid, and I really enjoy, I'm gonna blend them out a little bit more, but I really enjoy when I want to go in with shimmers on the lid. I like to have a matte base laid down to go on top.
I am ready.
Ooh, she's ready.
My crease is sufficiently cut. Let's see where we want to go from here. I think we're gonna be a little adventurous, and we're gonna go in and we're gonna start with guacamole.
Guacamole, guacamole.
I would argue that's also pretty.
I think that's if you know vines, you know that vine.
True. It's a little obscure. It's like a level 3 tier obscure.
I'll give it that.
Out of like, I don't know, maybe 10.
I was gonna say, that's like a 3 out of 10 obscure. If you know vines, you know what I'm talking about.
I prefer to go into lime. Well, there's lime and limon.
Yeah.
I guess you could. But I'm gonna go into I'll actually go into guacamole and then fade into lime, and I think I'll add a little bit of the carne asada. So.
Just reveal your whole plan, Olivia.
I have one today. That's the real kicker, I think.
So now I've blended. I'm gonna take guacamole.
Oh yeah, I should say. I'm taking guacamole and I am putting it in near my inner corner. It's not gonna be my inner corner shade, but I'm taking that near my inner corner to the middle.
For me, guacamole is my inner corner shade, and I'm going over the first part of limon where
And then I will take the shade lime and use that in the center. Go from the middle towards the edge with lime.
I'm gonna go in with my finger on Pico de Gallo, and I am going to take that and just dab it on the center of my eye.
I'm going to take the shade Carne Asada and go deep in my outer corner.
I was not the biggest fan of applying shades with my fingers until probably about a year ago when I noticed that like people on YouTube were actually doing that. I'm like, okay, you can do this and get good looks. It's not like when I had no eyeshadow brushes and I would apply my eyeshadow with just my fingers and Q-tips. Like, there's an art to using your fingers to apply eyeshadow. I'm gonna just go back in with Repollo Rojo and kind of do sort of a wing with it.
I am going to take Pico de Gallo and I'm gonna put that in my inner corner.
I'm gonna take Pico again and I'm gonna go in with this Farrah brush and I'm going to use this as a brow bone highlight as well. I love these little miniature Morphe Jeffree Star sponges. I bought the sponge kit and I've been continuously buying this sponge kit solely because like the main sponge that comes in there is basically just the Morphe Beauty sponge, but these little sponges are so helpful for cleaning up.
I'm just taking my big brush, my big blending brush, and using the leftover product on it to blend the salsa rojas down into a Pico de Gallo. Start in my inner corner. So they get to mix and mingle. I'm just kind of going back in at this point and redefining some of the colors I put down. I think that's what you're doing too.
Yeah.
Blending my crease in a little bit better to itself, you know. Those sorts of things.
Kind of going back over with the wing that I did.
I'm taking a little bit of salsa roja and I'm going to go on the button under my eye. What do you call this area?
The one downside of really pigmented matte shadows is sometimes they have a mind of their own.
And they do not forgive.
Yeah, they do not forgive, they do not forget, and they do not want to blend with one another. Because I blended these two really well on this eye, but on this eye it's a little bit more difficult because I took a little bit too much of carne asada in comparison to pollo. So I'm just going to dip back into pollo with this fluffy brush. So I think I'm done with my eye look now.
I also think I am done with my eye look now.
Nice. All right. We'll put some lips on and then we'll give you our thoughts. Final thoughts. All right. So we did achieve pretty similar looks using the two palettes. Kind of both went as rainbow as you can with the two palettes.
Yeah, actually it didn't end up dipping into either of the purple shades. But other than that, I basically used every major color that's represented in this palette.
And you did kind of get a little bit of a purple right there.
Salsa Roja ended up blending out a little purple. It's not really purple in my opinion, but
it's kind of at like the same purple tone that El Pastor has. Or not El Pastor, sorry, carne asada.
I did use that, so maybe if you're getting a hue of a purple, it might be that.
Because that's like a purple brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this palette. I think you are able to achieve similar looks with both palettes. So if you're someone who already has this palette, if you know, you see this and you're like, oh, I don't need both, but I think both work. I think both add things that the other didn't have. I love Al Pastor and the shimmery guacamole. I think those are two really unique shades that aren't in the first one.
However, I will say that the first one does have the shade Onions, which is an all-time favorite. And I didn't use it, but also Mexican cheese is a very nice color that's not represented in this palette.
Yeah, if you want both palettes, I definitely think you could get away and justify having both in your collection. I know I'm going to keep both in my collection after this and I'd be very happy to. But if you are someone who really likes Glamlite's packaging but doesn't like the size of their palettes, which is something that I know is an opinion that I've heard before. It's not my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not anti-big packaging by any means, although, again, if I was going to travel and I did want a small palette for travel,
this would be a nice travel palette.
Yeah, this is a great travel palette, and this is really the first palette that has come out from Glamlite that I definitely would say is travel friendly.
Yeah. Final thoughts? Both palettes are tasty tacos.
Both palettes. Don't eat them.
Thank you for watching.
Like, subscribe,
Ring the bell.
all those fun things, and
We'll see you next time.
Mwah.